If y'all all want to hang out at Christy Swaim's house next week, go ahead. But I'm not going to be here. Oh, Tatiana's house. We're going to Tatiana's house. But you also have friends groups, right? You have small groups. So, high school girls, you have a Friendsgiving. That's next Tuesday. That is next Tuesday. Wow, girls, y'all are going above and beyond. Your leaders like you, girls. So, next Tuesday, this is all high school girls, right? Oh, you did. Michaela asked me that if the upper class guys could come too, right? Ah. So upper class boys and girls, high school, you have a Friendsgiving to go to next week. It is in Building 4. If you don't know what it is, it's the one that looks like a house. Everybody say the one that looks like a house. The one that looks like a house. For high school girls. No, the office building. It looks like a house. It is the, no, kids building is 2. All right, secondly, Chiefs and Panthers. Chiefs, y'all might win this week. It's the Panthers. So, boys, this is boys. 6th and 7th grade boys. Y'all get, Chad, is at your house? Where's this one at? It's in Building 3. You're going to go to Building 3. You're going to watch the Chiefs smoke the Panthers. It's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. If y'all don't blow them out by 40, Chad, there is a problem in Kansas City. Y'all should smoke these guys. That's a Chad event. This is not a me event. I'm just relaying everything I'm being told. And then lastly, our Christmas, our student Christmas, where we serve, is going to be December 1st. You thought I was about to say Christmas party. But I got your attention. So during the month of December, every single ministry is getting to serve on a Sunday morning. Students, we've been given the first one. It's good to go first. It's good to go first. But we are going to have, Bree is actually going to sing with the band. But we are tasked with being the greeters. We are tasked with being the ushers. We are going to serve like we did on Raise Sunday. Oh my gosh, that was only a few weeks ago. Yes, you can't forget how to serve in 5 weeks. No, we're going to serve in this building. Where's Grace? Grace, stand up, because you have the shirt. You don't have the shirt. Never mind. Go away. So who has the shirt? Chad, stand up. No. Chad's ready. Look, everybody see Chad? If you have one that has the mountains and it says students, wear your shirt. If you have your, why did we go to camp? Refuge, wear your refuge camp. If you went to Camp Glorieta 3 years ago and it was long sleeve, and then we got to Texas and it was still too hot to wear that one. I'm not going to wear it. I don't like sweating on a Sunday. But if you want to sweat, by all means, wear it. And then if you went to Tennessee a long time ago, those shirts were free 99. They're destroyed, I'm sure, by now and disintegrated in a washer. But if you still somehow have that shirt, wear it. Wear a student shirt, because we are going to serve. We're going to have fun. We need greeters and ushers. And then lastly, who likes camp? All right. I have a video. I cannot download it yet. I am working on downloading it. If you listen, do not pull your phone out, because Michaela will swipe it. But when we leave tonight, if you type in M3 Camp, Mount Lebanon, the Southwest Texas Baptist.com, whatever, the website, they have a video that you can pull it up. M3. We are not going through them. They just have the coolest of all the videos I could find to explain what M3 Camp is. It is going to be a blast. Now, here is the deal. I have been told there are villages. I've been told there's villages, which means when we get to camp, our church will be in a village. Hopefully, I will get our color before we go to camp. But we have to rock it out this year. So whatever color we wind up getting, you need to pack that color. Am I understood? Yes. Listen. Many years ago, we went to a camp called Solid Rock, and I was the green team. And yes, I traded. And yes, I recruited my team. And yes, we were like the 2017 Patriots, in which we won 17 games. We crushed camp. I lost 3 games that week out of 30-something games. We won the trophy. I want to do that again this year, all right? I want our church to go in there and kick butt. Friendly. It's okay. We will be humble when we win, but I want to win. Yes? Yeah, we're not competitive in here at all, no? Exactly. I love it. And then here's my last thing before we get into tonight. Here's my last thing. we are going to do a D Now at Lebanon as well, Mount Lebanon. So if you're like, I really want to know what camp's going to look like months in advance, we will roll out registration here in a couple of weeks. It is February, Michaela, where'd you go? 14th, 15th, and 16th, I think. Someone's excited. Someone is excited. But here's the deal. It will be an all-weekend thing. So we will go to Mount Lebanon for D Now, and then we will go back for summer camp. I'm excited. I hope you are excited. But this is where we're going to camp. Once I get the video, I'll play the video. It's a lot more hype than I'm making it seem to be. But I'm promising you this. If we don't win the village games this year, you think youth is fun now? Just wait till we start running drills for next year. I'm just kidding, but I'm not. We're going to win. I like to win. Yes? My high school guys, yes. My high school girls, you never lose. Y'all have reclaimed your game title. We can't beat y'all. We had like a 6-month greatness, and now we're back to losing to y'all. So girls, equip these boys to win. I want to win. Understood? All right, let's get started. Questions. What's your question? It is about God and kicking butt. It is at M3. It's at Mount Lebanon. Texas. I don't want you to go and like physically assault other students unless the game requires you to physically assault other students. All right? Look. All right. I love having fun, but we are going to get serious now. We're going to do something we have never done before in students, okay? We're going to do something we have never done before in students. Now, Michaela is gone. I was supposed to have 4 pens up here. If you have pens behind the seat chairs, I need 4 in front of each one of these sticky notes. So if you'll just run up here and, no, don't throw it. Bro, what a throw. Was that you, Hannah? What a throw. And then they knocked the sticky pad off. You were like 6 inches away. That's good. All right, so listen. Listen, and this is why the cross is here. All right, is everybody listening? Madison, in just a minute, you're going to play that song. You're going to play it very low. But listen, we are going to spend the next 10 minutes, all right? We are going to spend the next 10 minutes doing this, okay? This is not, hang on. I had my page saved and now it's not saved. Nope. Just be, oh, because I'm a week ahead. Okay, listen. There are sticky notes in front of this room. Now, before we get started, there is no judgment in this room. Am I clear? Y'all know how I've always stood. Sexism, racism, bullying of any kind. What would I do? What will I do? No, I would never punch a student. I will send you home. I will call a parent, and I will immediately send you home, okay? We are going to get wrong. We are going to get authentic in this room. Listen, all right? Right here in the front of the room is the cross, and you have sticky notes on the stage. Now, there's pens with these sticky notes. What I want you to do while the music is playing is we're going to pray before we get started. When I'm done praying, I want you to come up here, and you're going to write on this sticky note something in your life that God has restored, something in your life that God has redeemed, something in your life maybe God has returned that was lost or stolen. Maybe you've seen a marriage restored. Maybe you've seen a cousin of yours that you deeply loved be redeemed and come to the faith. You have seen God move in your life somewhere. When we talk about prayer here at ACF, we talk about 4 things, and it's spelled through Acts. A is adoration. C is confession. T is thanksgiving. And S is supplication. We are going to give thanks tonight for where we have seen God move in our life. And I want you to come up here, boys. I want you to come up here, and I want you to write what God has done in your life. And then next, when we're done, we're going to talk about S, supplication. There are battles in our lives that we are still praying to see victory. There are our family members that we are still praying to come to the faith. There are friends that we are still praying would come back to being in friendship with us. Maybe you're like, I don't know why they're not my friend anymore. And just give it to the Lord. But first, we're going to start off with thanksgiving. And so we're going to play music quietly, and I want you to pray. And I want you to reflect over what God has done in your life. And I want you to come up here, and I want you to write it on the sticky note. And I want you to put it on the cross. Because if God is the one that did it, if God's the one that restored it, if God's the one that redeemed it, it is only through the sacrifice of his Son that we have that opportunity to come to the Father and give it to him. So we're going to set it on the cross, all right? So we're going to start in prayer, And we're going to spend a couple of minutes to just reflection over what God has done in our life. Cool? All right, if you'll take your hats off. Lord, I thank you for the students in this room, and I thank you for the leaders in this room, Father. But we are nothing. We are weak. Our name does not hold power, Father, but we have seen you move in our life time and time again, Father. We have seen restoration. We have seen redemption. We have encountered your grace. We have encountered your glory, Father. And we thank you for that tonight, Father. We celebrate in the victories that you have conquered, Lord. And for those that are still fighting, for those that are praying, for those that maybe have doubts, Lord, we just ask that maybe this would be a moment of reflection where we could come back into abiding with you, Lord. Maybe we've been fighting on our own strength for far too long, Father, and it's time for us to quit fighting against you, Father, and to abide in you, Lord. I thank you for the students in this room. I thank you for the wins in my own life, Father. I thank you for your presence. I just ask that you would protect this night tonight, Father, as we dive into the word, as we go into small groups, Father, that you would soften our hearts to encounter you. We ask all these things in Jesus' powerful name, and it's in his name we pray. Amen. Madison, if you'll start the music.
Amen.
Nothing good in me. You are love on display for all to see. You are light when the darkness closes in. You are hope, you have covered all my sin. You are peace when my fear is crippling. You are true, even in my wandering. You are joy, you're the reason that I sing. You are light. sing no other name. Jesus, Jesus. My heart will sing no other name. Jesus, Jesus. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever reign. I'm running to your arms. I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever reign. I will sing no other name. Jesus, Jesus. Jesus, my heart will sing. No other name. Jesus, Jesus, my heart will sing. No other name. Jesus, Jesus.
All right, can you hear me? For those that wrote something, I love that, right? Sometimes we just need to stop and reflect and to remember everything that God has done in our life. The miracles that we've seen, the wins that we've encountered. Sometimes you just have to stop and remember it is not by your own strength, your own intelligence, your own knowledge, but just surely the grace and power of God. But here's another thing. It doesn't stop at T. There is a fourth prayer, and it's supplication. And what I want y'all to remember tonight is this. When you are praying, when you are battling, when you are praying for that family member, for that friend, when you are lifting up someone's name tonight, I want you to remember this, the victories that we've seen. Sometimes we focus it battle to battle to battle. And when we don't see a win in the battle, what do we say? Well, God must not be listening. Well, God must not have heard me. But if you would stop and look back at everything he has done, maybe sometimes just say, you know what, Lord, let your will be done. You know what you're going to do. You can do all things. You can do incredible things. You can do amazing things, Lord. And I just give this situation to you because I can't do anything whether I like it or not. So if there's a victory, let's go. If there's salvation, let's go. If there still needs a fight that needs to happen, I'm down. But we got to get out of this way of whenever we don't see God moving in our life, we stop and say, he must not be present. He must not hear me. He must not care. We have to avoid that because we have seen that biblically, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So, we're still on YouTube. If you do me a favor, if you go to the slide. Thank you, ma'am. So, we've talked about a lot of things over the last month. Nope, we're going to put that right back where it belongs. Right back where that belongs. All right, so we've talked about a lot of things. First one was, because I know the truth, I get to share the truth. I know the gospel. I know Jesus. I'm going to share, said Jesus. Here's something cool. On Tuesday, we had a homeless man walk into our office building. 9 o'clock, he walked in. Now, I'm not at UPS this week, so I got to church at 9 o'clock with my wife because it's time to check the boys in. I walk in there, and I hear my wife in the front. And she's like, good morning. And I hear this guy being like, can I talk to a pastor? And she's like, oh, we have one on staff. Let me grab one. And I'm like, oh, no. No, like, Lord, it's early. I'm tired. I just got off the boat. Lord, I don't want to have this conversation. I'm tired. And Michaela walks back there, and she's like, hey, Luke, there's a guy that just walked in. Come talk to him. And I'm like, oh, all right, Lord, let's go. Like, wonder what this person wants. Maybe it's a parent, a lost parent. They got to know where to check their kid in. I'll point them to Mitzi. I'm good to go. And I walk out, and it's a man named Frank. He's cool. His name's Fireman Frank. He worked at the Hassett Firefighter, and he just wanted to walk in and talk to somebody because he's looking for a church home. He came in and was like, hey, I'm looking for a church home. This is what I'm walking through. And I was like, man, so I'm talking to him, and I'm like, I would love to pray for you. And I was like, you know, how's it going in the Word? And he's like, I don't even have a Bible right now. And I'm like, oh, we just have a box of Bibles because we've replaced them in here. They're the Bible, so I go and grab one, and my wife's like, yeah, let's grab a nicer-looking one. Don't grab the ratty one. And I was like, you're right. Let's get the good one. So I go and I grab it to him, and I hand it to him, and I'm talking to him, and he's just so nice, and he was so compassionate, he was so overwhelming, and I was like, I can't believe 5 minutes ago, I was like, I really don't want to do this. Like, part of me wanted to go and smack myself in the back of the head of the 5 minutes ago, Luke, because I was so caught up with, I'm tired, I'm in autopilot. We know the gospel. We have to share the gospel with everyone we encounter. Whether we like it or not, you never know who you're going to encounter or how God is going to use you. Next one, because I know the truth, I worship him. What do we learn about the early church? What did we learn about the disciples? It was a lifestyle of worship. They saw miracles performed. They encountered Jesus. They encountered salvations. Are we doing the same thing? As soon as we see God moving in our life, are we immediately responding in worship? When we get battles in our life, are we immediately following with worship? Are we having a worship-style lifestyle, or do we wait till music starts playing on a Sunday morning? Next one, because I know the truth, I stand firm in him. I stand firm in him. We talked about this. When we get confronted with something, do we shrink back? Do we hide? Do we say, just don't look at me? It's going to be okay. I'm going to get through school. I'm going to get through practice. I'm going to get on the bus. I'm going to go home, and then I'm good. Or do we turn around and say, you know what? It's time for someone to finally stand up and declare, I am a disciple of Christ. The next one, because I know the truth, I care for those forgotten. We are tasked with taking care of the orphans, the widows, the destitute, the ones that are seeking help. Are you aware of those around you that need help? Or do you sit and go through your daily life as A, B, C? Well, I've got band practice here, and then I've got first period here, and then I have lunch, and then I have this, and then I have that, and then I get home, and I never talk to those around me who are crying out for help, who are drowning. Or do I say, you know what, I can see you hurting, and I'm fine losing 10 minutes here to talk to you and check on if you're okay? Next, because I know the truth, I will radically love. What did we learn from Jesus? The two most important things was one, what? Nope, what was the first one? Love God with every fiber of your being. With all your heart, body, soul, and mind, everything about you should love God. And then secondly was what? Love your neighbor. Are you loving your neighbor? Next, because I know the truth, I will walk in new identity. We talked about this last week. Jesus encountered the woman. The woman was immediately healed, and she immediately did what? Walked. She immediately turned into a lifestyle of praise and worship. She immediately walked. She immediately did something. When you have this identity as a believer, did you immediately do something? Or are you still walking around like a zombie? You have a new identity. Do something about it. I don't care what you do. Do something. It's kind of like when you put something out on the ground, you're like do something. Please, impress something. Do something. We love you. Do something with it. So this is our next one, a most radical restoration. Well, we've seen God restore many things in our life. We've seen God redeem many things in our life. Many of you, as soon as we opened up tonight, where have you seen God move in your life? Y'all ran up here to write down what he's done. You see God moving in your life, and we're going to talk about that tonight. I know it's really bright. Don't you love that? So we talked about what has God restored in your life? Broken, lost, taken. See, we wrote, They killed it. Will you click the first one right after that? It's broken. It's okay. It is what is something in your life you would be prayed right now to be restored or repurposed. What in your life? You wrote down where God has had victory. I want you to think about, you're not going to write it down, I want you to think about where you are currently praying for God to restore in your life, whether it's a relationship. Maybe it's someone that you passionately love, that you want them to have a relationship with the Father. Next, what is something in your life you would pray to be restored? Nope. Next is, what advice would you give your friends that are waiting on restoration in their life? See, you might have seen God move in your life, but there are people that because their prayers are not answered, they say it must be because God's not real, and they forever turn a hardened heart towards the church. They have a hardened heart towards God. You might have friends that are waiting for restoration. What would you tell them? What would you tell them if someone in your life was like, I will never be a believer because I prayed for something and it didn't happen? What would you tell them? How would you love on them? How would you seek them out? How would you radically love them? See, what if I told you that it is still dead? This sucks. What if I told you that willingness to listen can open the door for God to radically transform you? Sometimes you need to listen to what God is doing in your life. We've seen this time and time again, and we're going to see it again this morning. So we're going to backtrack, or this evening, we're going to backtrack a little bit to, we're back. Oh, no. Y'all made me click. All right, no, it's not happening. I'm not even worried about it. Oh, it's back. It's back. So we're going to go back a little bit. We're going to go back just a little bit to Luke chapter 5, and there's a reason we're going back. We're going to go back to where Jesus first called the disciples. Y'all remember what was going on? What were they doing? Now, the very beginning, the disciples, they were fishing. Who said that? It wasn't Lacey. Look at you. I love it. So they're fishing. So one day as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, the people were crowding around him and listening to the word of God. He saw at the water's edge 2 boats. How many boats? 2 boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. So Jesus is teaching. There's people all around him. Does anybody ever get tired of crowds? You're like, I'm a people person. I love being around people, but there are sometimes it's just too much, and I need a break. And so he's like, hey, look, there's 2 boats right here, all right? So they're cleaning their nets. So why is it capitalized? Because it's talking about Jesus. So Jesus got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put it out a little from shore. Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat. So he's like, hey, I'm going to get off a little bit. Y'all can sit on the shore. I'm going to be a little bit away from y'all, and I'm going to continue to teach. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch. Now, who's the fisherman? Who's the fisherman? Simon. I want you to think about this for a second. Don't think about, you know this story, you know who Jesus is, you know who Simon is. I want you to think about this in our present day. Somebody walks up to you, and you are a professional in whatever you're doing, in this case a fisherman, and a professor steps in your boat to teach his class, and you're like, this is cool. And he said, yo, go in the deep water and throw it on your nets right there. What is your first thought? Why should I listen to you? Who is this dude? Who is this dude? Who? What? No. I'm the fisherman. You're the teacher. I'll choose where to throw the net. So Simon answered, Master, we've worked hard all night, and we haven't caught anything. Would you be like, dude, I'm done. I'm done. Think about that. You fished all night. A teacher has gotten into your boat. He's like, yo, go out there and throw down your nets. And you're like, dude, I'm dead tired. Has anybody be dead tired? Right? Like a lock-in. Lock-in on Sunday. I used to love doing lock-ins here. Because then it's Sunday morning, and the parents are like, my son was so good in worship today. He just sat there so quietly the whole time. You know why? Because they were dead. They're just like, Yes. In the chair, sitting down the whole time. And then the moms would text me on Monday and be like, my son was so great the rest of the afternoon. You know why he was so great? What do you think he was doing? He was sleeping. He was sleeping. So he's tired. Dude, I've worked all night. I don't want to do this, but because you say, I will let down the net. So he's like, you know what? Because you're saying to do it, let's go and do it. Now, how much had they caught the night before? None. Zero. Empty boat. When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. Hold up. How much had they caught? The nets are about to break, but the night before, nada. Nothing. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them, and they came and filled both boats so full that they began to sink. Clearly, this dude knows what he's doing. So if you want to know what a boat looks like in that present day and age, here's your boat. It's longer than a UPS truck, if you can see this, not quite as long as a school bus, and this boat was so full it was starting to sink. The nets are breaking. That is a lot of fish. This isn't a little paddle boat. This isn't one of those little rowboats you get at like Main Event or whatever with the little water guns. This is a big boat, and it's almost sinking. That's a lot of fish. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, "Go away from me, Lord. I am a sinful man." For he and all of his companions were astonished at the catch of the fish they had taken, and so were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, Simon's partners. Then Jesus said to Simon, "Don't be afraid. From now on, you will fish for people." So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, and followed him. And I want you to remember that. Jesus said what? From now on, you will fish for people. You have a clear instruction for Simon. There's a reason we went back to this. We went back a little bit, because now we're going to go back to present day where we've been lately. Now, here, skipping a line. After being called, were they perfect? Were the disciples perfect? What? They worked with Jesus for 3 years. They weren't perfect? You sure they weren't perfect? You positive they weren't perfect? But they've been with Jesus for 3 years. That doesn't matter. They've only been with Jesus for 3 years. All right, so we're going to go back to Luke 22. We're continuing on through the book of Luke. Verse 31, it says, "Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift all of you as wheat, but I have prayed for you, Simon, that you have faith, that your faith may not fail, and when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers." So Jesus says, I prayed for you to be strengthened, and you're going to turn back and do what? You're going to strengthen your brothers. So Jesus is like, yo, so this is what Satan's going to do. I'm praying for you. Let's go. And Simon says, you think he had a really good response? Or do you think it was a foot and mouth response? Foot and mouth. There's a lot of foot and mouth. But he replied, "Lord, I am ready to go with you to prison and death." I would think I would have that same response. I've been with Jesus, the Son of God. He's like, this is what we're going to do. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, teacher. I've been with you for 3 years. Let's go. I would think I would have had that same mentality with Peter of, no matter what is about to happen, Lord, I've got your back. I've got your back. I've got your back. And what does Jesus say? "I tell you, Peter, before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times that you know me." So Peter said what? I'm with you thick or thin. Anybody have a friend like that? You're like, I'm with them, ride or die, thick and thin, no matter what, I've got your back. So Peter says that, and Jesus is like, 3 times tonight. Before even tomorrow morning, you're going to deny me. So first off, Jesus said, you're going to fish for people. Second thing I want you to remember is that Jesus said, you're going to deny me 3 times. But Christ is Lord. I would never do that. See, I hate this sometimes. Sometimes we can see, we've read the story, and we go, I would have never acted like they did. It would have never happened. Right? Hindsight 2020, I know the story. I would have not been that silly. I would have not been that dumb. I would have been different. But yet, I have a question for you. See, first Peter, right? So Peter has denied Jesus, or denied knowing Jesus 3 times before the rooster crows. Peter was told that you're going to fish for men. And there are some things that happened to Peter we're about to talk about, but I want you to remember this before we get into it. Peter writes this in 1 Peter 3, verses 13 through 16. "Who is going to harm you if you are eager to do good? But even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed. Do not fear their threats, do not be frightened. See, Peter, in that moment, in the moment of when Jesus is being persecuted, in the moment where he could have stood up and been like, ride or die, I've got you here, he didn't. Now, granted, it's a good thing he didn't, because Peter was one of the starters of the early church. But look at what Peter has learned. Peter took that, and he could have either done one, ran with it, learned from it, took a spanking, and continued to move forward, or he could have been so focused on the mess up that he didn't move forward. So Peter writes, but even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed. Do not fear their threats. Do not be frightened. See, Peter was frightened in that moment. But then after that, he's like, bro, it's so much more than this. And so he says, don't be frightened. Don't be scared. Don't do what I did. I'm telling you right now, when your parents tell you don't do something, it's probably because they did it too. And they're like, I want you to learn from this. Don't do my mistakes. Don't do what I did. Don't be goofy, silly teenager. You're going to be a goofy, silly teenager. You've always been goofy, silly teenagers. I was a goofy, silly teenager. Your leaders were goofy, silly teenagers. Maybe not your moms. Your moms are perfect. But all of the rest of us were goofy, silly teenagers. But, it goes on, but in your hearts revere Christ as Lord. What? Revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you, to give the reason for the hope that you have, but do this with gentleness and respect, keeping a clear conscience, so that those who speak maliciously against your good behavior in Christ may be ashamed of their slander. See, in Jesus' persecution, 3 times Peter denies knowing Christ. And this Peter is saying, always be ready now to give a defense. And you're like, but I would not have done what Peter did. I don't have to learn my lesson. Are you quiet in your locker room? Are you quiet in your locker room? Are you quiet in the classroom? When people slander Christianity, when people slander what we believe, when people make fun of Christians, are you quiet? Do you pull a Peter and deny that you're a believer? Do you pull a Peter and deny that you're a disciple of Christ? Do you pull a Peter and sit down quietly and just try to get through school and get to the next thing? Next one, are you quiet at the dinner table? Maybe you have siblings or parents that aren't believers. And you're like, nope, I don't feel like getting in another argument with my parents. Well, Peter said, do it with gentleness and kindness. But we are still called to defend the faith, to give a response to what we believe. You might say you don't pull a Peter, but we do it every single day. We may stumble, but he never forgets us or leaves us behind. The reason I say this, and the reason I wanted to point to what Peter wrote, is this. After Jesus had died, okay, the disciples went into autopilot. What I mean by that is they went into what they were doing before Jesus came to them. So, we looked in Luke 5, what were the disciples doing? Fishing. So John 21, wait, is this towards the end of John? So this is after Jesus has died. This is after Jesus has left the disciples. They go autopilot. They're gone, and they start fishing. So Jesus comes up to them, starts talking to them, and then Jesus breaks off one-on-one with Peter. Now, at John 5, or Luke 5, what does Jesus tell Peter? I'm going to call you to be fisher of men. Now, Peter's last encounter with Jesus, what did Peter do 3 times before the rooster crows? Denied knowing Christ, and then Christ looks at him. 3 times. I want you to think about this. Your teacher, your ride or die, you have denied knowing them 3 times, and as soon as the rooster crows, he looks at you. How would you feel? Like you're what? My stomach just dropped. Now, Jesus is gone. I've denied Christ. He looked at me before that. I am all in my head regretting what I have done. So I go to autopilot. Well, what was his autopilot? Fishing. So Jesus comes up to him. When they had finished eating, Jesus said to Peter, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these? Yes, Lord, he said. You know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my lambs. Again, Jesus said, Simon, son of John, do you love me? How many times is this now he's asked him? Twice. He answered, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. Jesus said, take care of my sheep. What do you think Jesus did? Asked again. So Jesus said for the third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter was hurt because Jesus asked him the third time, do you love me? He said, Lord, you know all things. You know that I love you. Jesus said, feed my sheep. See, this is your lesson today. Because he restored me, I will boldly share the gospel. We get in times when we don't see God moving in our life, or we feel like we don't see God moving in our life, that God has left us, that God has forgotten us, that God has abandoned us, and we go in autopilot mode. What I mean by that is we sit there, we shrink down, we walk through school, and we hope that nobody asks us about our faith because we are so caught up with what is currently going on. We forget about the victories that God has already done in our life, and we go to autopilot. Peter pulled an autopilot. He denied his teacher. His teacher is dead. His teacher is gone. And so he does what? He goes to fish. And Jesus comes up to him and does exactly what the last thing Peter did to encounter Jesus, but the opposite. He says, do you love me? Of course I do. Really? Do you love me? You know I do. Do you love me? It's hurting me that you continue to ask me this. Jesus, I love you. Then go and do what I asked you to do. You have seen God move in your life. If you have had restoration happen in your life, remember that as you continue to move forward. There are people in our lives that act like Thomas, that say, I need to see a miracle in my life to know God is real. You have to learn to lovingly encounter those people and share the truth. You have people that are going to combat you everywhere you go, teachers that combat you, administrators that combat you, people at school that combat you, and you have to learn to stand up in grace and truth and share what you know. We are called to boldly share the gospel. And at times we get caught in the autopilot, and we have to get out of that. We have to start doing what Jesus told us to do. His last instruction was not have fun on Sunday mornings, hang out with all the Christians. One day I'm going to come back and we're good. Last time I checked, that is not what my Bible says. Last time I checked, he gave a very clear instruction. What was that instruction? Believe and go, right? That's what we've been saying in students. Believe and go. Go. Do what? Go make disciples. Go and baptize in the third one. Teach them his ways. And he gave us a promise. What was the promise? Nope. What was the promise? And I will be with you to the end of the days. Jesus promised us when we get on our feet and we go and we take the gospel out there, he is with us. You have to remember that. You have to remember you have a power that resides within you that is greater than anything you're going to encounter. It's not because Chad is awesome. It's not because Wyatt is awesome. It's because the Holy Spirit dwells within us that can do great things. God has chosen to team with us. We have an opportunity to see God do radical things in our life, but you have to get on your feet and you have to walk out those doors. You cannot keep saying, I'm good, only showing up Wednesdays and Sundays. Because here's where I leave you. What would it look like if our youth group walked out this mentality? As Kyrie Slacy used to say, Sunday to Sunday, what would it look like if you had a Sunday to Sunday faith to go and share the good news, to go and radically love, and to go empowered by the Spirit to see great things happen? I love you guys, and you're going to talk about that when you go to small groups.